there! Okay, today we are talking about how to read a pattern and line it up on your fabric, that kind of thing. Okay, patterns. Patterns! Ah. Patterns. In the little package, they look so simple, and it's just a little rectangle with some other skinny paper in it. It's not at all. You'll see what I mean. There are a lot of different notations and instructions on the pattern, on the instructions in the envelope, on the back. They're all over the place, so you need to make sure that you're paying attention to what they're saying, because if you miss a step somewhere, or if you don't understand what a certain mark on the pattern means, you could really seriously screw yourself later and then end up having to rip the entire thing apart to do it again. I've done that and it sucks. So, yes, we're going to invade an envelope and pull out its insides and see what there is to be seen. That's my cat. He's lazy. Until I have pattern pieces that are cut out, or scraps of pattern paper that is all over the place, and then he will make a mess of everything. So if you have a shop cat, if you have a small child, if you have a fan or an open window, make sure that you have pitched all of your scraps in the right place and that you've got your cutout pattern pieces safe, because otherwise things like this little demon, hello little demon, things like this little demon will destroy them, and then you've got to start all over. So yeah, if you have this, make sure you keep your stuff safe. Okay, something to think about before you start working is, no matter what you're going to do, whether you're going to pattern, whether you're going to sew, whether you're going to cut, whatever you're going to do, make sure you're comfortable. Whether that's putting on makeup and doing your hair, getting dressed top to the bottom, then hey, if that's what you need to do, do it. If you need to clean the room beforehand, do it. Me, I have to do it barefoot. I don't know why, but I do. So that's part of my thing. And yank the hair back in a ponytail. I cannot have it in my face when I'm working. So it doesn't matter what your regime, hey, let's have a sewing regime. Whatever your routine is. How about that? Routine, regime, routine. I want a regime for a routine with minions. So, oh God. You got your routine? Okay, let's do this. Okay, so I have my pattern. These are your weapons of choice for this. The pattern. You need pins. You need shears. Okay, real quick. Fabric shears. You do not want to use regular scissors for fabric. Ever. Do not use any scissors that you have used to cut paper other than pattern paper. Do not use them for fabric, because paper is hell on blades. It will leave tiny little minute teeny tiny dings in the blade and stuff. It will dull it. It will make it horrific for cutting your fabric. You will snag, you will pull, it's disgusting. Don't do it. Shears. Something to mark your pattern, your fabric with, because there's always going to be marks on there that it's going to want you to mark for a dart or a seam or a pocket placement or something like that. So my number one favorite thing to use is chalk, because chalk brushes off. Okay, when you open your pattern, you have little pages like this. These are the instructions for what you're going to do. They will be in English, and sometimes these are all in English. Some pattern companies will also do them in Spanish, or they may some will do one in French as well. There are a few pattern companies out there that will do English, French, Spanish, German, and then a couple other languages as well. So yeah, sometimes their packages are really thick just because they have so many versions of the instructions in them. So we are looking for A when we open up these. See this? This right here? Pattern pieces. This is that really lightweight stuff. It's vellum is what it is. It is just a brown vellum. So it's very, very thin and very lightweight and very easy to blow away and wrinkle, and it's horrible. So be careful with that. But first we're going to talk about this, the instruction pages. Okay, when you're looking at your pattern, at the instructions on the pattern itself, you have the views of the versions that this pattern provides, and then it will go down and it will show you all of the pieces that are included in this pattern and the numbers that coincide with them. It also has a description of what each piece is. Number 1 is the front for A and B. Number 2 is the middle front for A and B, all the way to down here. See, this is all French. Whee! But down to the flat for C, number 24. So everything is done in there. So apparently there is French in here too. Okay, whatever. There's also a little bit down here that talks about body measurements and how they coincide with the patterns. Something to take note of here is that pattern companies are dumb when it comes to sizes and how things fit. When I was younger and in good shape, I wore a size 12. When I made myself things, I had to use a pattern size 16 because the way their measurements worked. So before you start cutting, always check against what their measurements are, and if you need to, measure the pattern itself. Okay. Oh, hey, the fan's blowing. Hey, stupid fan. Okay, so we have measurements here for how much interfacing you might need. Is there. Then there's also fabric cutting layouts. This bit right here will tell you all kinds of things about how to read it. If there's a circle with a little cross through it, this right here, it is the bust line or the waistline, the hip line, things like that. It's to a circumference of a finished garment, okay? So if there are lines, solid lines are cutting lines. 5/8 inch seam allowances are included in things, so you don't have to worry about adding any extra fabric to it. You're just going to want to keep it right as it is on the pattern itself. So you're going to find there are layouts on here that will tell you what to do. Now, this is pretty important right here. This is very important. Okay, if it's white, it will be the right side of the pattern. Okay, if they're talking about that. If it's flipped over, it's the wrong side of the pattern. It's upside down. Okay. If it's dark, it's the right side of the fabric. It's the side that's got the design on it. Or if it's velvet, it's the fuzzy side. That kind of thing. If it's white, for the fabric itself, it's the wrong side of the fabric. I'm not saying it's incorrect. I'm saying it's the back. Okay? There's a big, big difference there. Looking at the instructions can be insanely boring. I get that. So I'm going to try and get through this so that we can actually pull out the pattern pieces and watch them blow around the living room with the fan. Okay, grain line. That's something that's very, very important. It is the direction the fabric runs, okay? So, say this fabric, it has a grain line. See how it seems like follow a line that goes up like this, okay? Same thing, it just goes up the fabric. This is a corduroy, despite the pattern on it, it is still a corduroy, and the cords go this way. So that would be the grain line. Your pattern will have arrows that will show you which way the grain needs to lie. That means that's the way the pattern needs to go. So that is something that's very, very important with your fabrics. And every fabric, mostly every fabric has a grain line. It depends on whether or not you want to go ahead and use it. I will show you the actual markings to find the grain line and the fold on the fabric. It's a whole lot easier to see on the pattern pieces themselves than it is to see on the instruction page. Of course, it's easier to see the pattern when you have your glasses on. I hate getting old. It sucks. Glasses. Ah, hey, there are letters there. It will show you the layout for the fabrics. Okay? See, like here, this is a very simple one. It's dark where the fabric is. That means it's the right side of the fabric. It's the top. Like this. And like this. See, this is a really good example, this fabric is. Here. Whoop! Bonk. Bong. Okay, this is the right side. Okay? The wrong side looks like this. Okay? That's what we mean, the back of the fabric. Pattern lies on the right side. Okay? Here's the right side of the pattern. So you're going to lay the pattern on the sheet of fabric like this. Notice on this it does not say anywhere fold. Okay, so you do not fold that. In fact, this pattern doesn't have anything about folding the fabric. Alright, well, let's see if you can see it. Yes, there it is. If it is place the pattern on the fold, you will see something like this. It's hard to see though. It's 2 arrows on either end of a line that connects them, like this. And that will tell you to place that edge of the pattern piece on the fold of the fabric, because it's going to be an identical one on either side. Usually that's for the back of a shirt or something like that. And yeah, so that's the very, very basics of it. Here you can see where you see the back side of the pattern. It wants you to lay one right side, one upside down, one right side, one upside down. Oh wait, here's where there's a fold. There's a fold here. See how you've got the back side of the fabric. It's got an F here for where it folds, and it shows that it folds. So you've got the front side, and you're laying the pattern pieces on top. In that case, you're going to cut 2 of each pattern piece. So you're going to cut through 2 layers of fabric at that point. So let's actually pull out the pattern pieces. Okay, all of your pattern pieces are in this. We are looking for all of the pattern pieces for A, for view A. So we're going to have our instruction book or page, because it will actually tell us which pieces we need for which one. And so of course A we need, and on the pattern, woo! Here we go. Brand new pattern, unveiling for the first time. Okay. I'm sure you can already see that there are a ton of pieces on each sheet, on each piece of vellum. Hi! We are pinning pattern pieces to the fabric. And there's a fan going. I really don't want to turn the fan off because it's hot in here. And oh, pattern, why must he be full of thwart? Once you start to get it pinned down, then it behaves itself. It's like it's trapped and it's given up. Okay, here are a couple of examples of the pattern pieces actually on the fabric. So we've got them pinned along the edges, but far enough in where they're not going to mess with you when you're cutting it out. Okay, basics. Cutting line. It's the solid line that goes around all of the edges. Okay, see how that goes? Solid line, not dotted line. Well, not right now anyway. Okay. Sometimes you come across a little triangle. That's a notch. You can clip that notch out. You can clip it out this way, or you can just mark it. On a pattern, when there are notches, they will tell you to put the pattern pieces together, notches, and match the notches, or match the dots. That's this. What happens is you put the pieces together there, so you can make sure that you've got the right pieces in the right place, and that it will line up correctly. That's what those are for. Those are markings to make sure you get everything lined up where it's supposed to be. Some patterns have a mark here. The words on it says lengthen or shorten here. If you need to make it longer, if you need to make it shorter, this is where you do it. You cut the pattern, add in what you need, or overlap it. We're going to go as is, so we don't need to use that. Oh. Okay. Here on the pattern, we have number 2, the number of the piece. This is number 2. It will also tell you what it is. It is the middle front for A and B. It will also tell you how many to cut. In this, it wants fabric, cut 2, interfacing, cut 2, and lining, cut 2. So you're going to cut 6 pieces of this in all. This is for sizes A5, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Now, on the next piece, on piece 1 here, there's a whole lot more markings, okay? Most important are these different kinds of lines. These are for your different sizes. Pieces like number 2 are one size for each. You don't change this. It's the same size for every actual garment size. Here is where we have size 6, size 8, size 10, size 12, and size 14. Okay? Each one has a different dot pattern. So something you definitely need to make sure of before you do anything else is to make sure your area is free of any hazards. Yeah, I just totally kicked the footstool and shredded my little toe. So we're gonna finish this later. All right, so we're gonna get our pattern. Where's the pattern? Crap. Thwart. Thwart. Thwart.